It's time for this week's edition of Toro Talk. I'm Joel Norman, and we're joined by the assistant coach of the Mason City Toros, Marquise Cotten. Marquise, let's talk about some of the recent action for the Toros. Last Friday was kind of a recent example of some adversity, losing here on home ice 4-1 against Wilmer. Talk to me about some of the frustration for that night, because you guys sure put that behind you the next night, defeating Wilmer on the road.
Yeah, so it was just like a really tough matchup for us, and coming out of playing the Loons and trying to get back to our game, and asking the guys to get a good start, and the puck just wasn't really bouncing our way, but we told the boys to stick to our plan and keep trying to make the singles, make the simple play, and Wilmer, they're a good team, so they just took advantage of our mistakes here in the D zone especially, and came out on top, but our boys battled back really hard the next day and played a really good game from start to finish, a full 60, and came out on top.
Yeah, I think that there's never a time where you like to say losing a game is a way to learn, but I'd say at this point in the season, to learn like that was important in a lot of ways. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I think our guys really showed us a lot on Saturday, especially after Friday. And one of the things that we told them was, remember how this feels, because one, it's not going to happen again. And two, if we can avoid it at all costs, let's do our part, which is what Saturday was, right? So that kind of eliminates a little bit of that question mark for Nick and I as coaches, being like, okay, well, we know our guys can face that adversity and come back strong.
It seems like we just take for granted. We assume the Toros are going to score 5 goals in just about every game. I think it's happened now 12 times this season. So to only get one this past Friday was so surprising. But to me on Saturday, Brendan Sloth comes out, when the captain of your team scores 10 seconds into the game, it really sends a message. Did that, not that it made you feel like you were going to win, obviously, that early, but did it send a message, do you think, to the rest of the team that he came out and got that big goal early on?
Yes, but also props to him, because for a guy who's our captain, he's always leading from the front, as I call it. He's always picking guys up on the bench. He's always telling guys what they need to be working on or what they need to be doing to accomplish a win here. And he really does a really, really good job of just getting in there and getting the guys going, apart with the other returners as well. They really set a really good culture for the boys to, learn how to battle.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring them up, because it was something we were talking about a couple days ago, was this leadership group in general, the maturity beyond their years. It seems like that's been so pivotal this year when you've got a lot of guys coming in. It's a challenge every year, but I think you'd agree the leadership group has done a phenomenal job this year.
Yeah, 100%. I think they've really set the bar really high and, brought the group together to be really, really close. I mean, the guys are hanging out all the time, something I know we've talked about before. And, I think that just creeps into the gameplay and the chemistry of the guys. And guys are just knowing where each other are on the ice. And, it just makes everything a little bit easier on Nick and I.
One of the things that really helped you guys bounce back against Wilmer was changing up the lines a little bit. It felt like these were completely 4 different forward lines going into Saturday's game compared to this past Friday. Talk to me about the flexibility of guys, because that can be a challenge. As I don't know how many people realize that. When you don't know who your line mates are going to be each time, it didn't seem like that affected the Toros at all this past weekend.
No, I think it was almost a little bit good, actually, to see how some guys react and see how some guys play with other guys. So it's almost like a litmus test for Nick and I as well to, see what we can do with certain guys and see how certain guys reacted to it. But it seemed to work out really well. So it's always good to just put kids in different situations to let them show you what they have versus trying to just, make assumptions off of, what you've seen before.
Let's talk about the Minnesota Loons. It's a frequent opponent right now. 2 of the last 3 weekends, once we start play this coming weekend, that we'll have seen the Loons. It's an interesting test in a way, because it's a different type of opponent, and we talked about this before of, 2 weekends ago you play them, then you face Wilmer. You play the Loons again this weekend, then you play Rochester. It's kind of a complete difference in, competitive opponents each week. So how do you kind of keep the guys up and focused on fixing things that need to be fixed, and also keeping the same mentality regardless of who the opponent is?
So I think that's where the coaching staff comes in, Nick and I and Todd as well, kind of helps with us. And we take the approach of, we don't look past anybody, right? So going into this weekend, we're focused on these 2 games this weekend, Friday and Saturday. And what that focus turns to be is, us. Like, what are we doing? How can we get better? How can we become more effective? And, how can we make our percentages higher? So that's really some of the things that we kind of turn to for games where, the guys expect us, quote unquote, to win. But we don't want to look past anybody. We want to take every game the same and play a full 60 each week.
What are a couple adjustments? You mentioned playing a full game. What are some other adjustments, though, that are really crucial in a series like this, where you can kind of focus on improving certain things in general?
So it's not what it is going to be, rather, is just not playing outside of of what we know that we can do, right? Like, we don't need anybody to be a superhero kind of thing. But what we want to do is just support the puck pretty well, move the puck well, and, take the high quality shots that we get.
Well, Coach, best of luck this weekend. Should be another fun weekend here. Hopefully come back with a couple of wins, and then we get set for the rest of the month. It's a busy stretch coming up.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us. This is Joel Norman alongside Marquise Cotten, and this has been Toro Talk.